Good afternoon, friends, to whichever part of the globe you belong to. I am Professor Dinesh Gusai, would be facilitating this module on entrepreneurship management. And I hope you are, till now, you have gone through all our previous modules on entrepreneurship management. So let's quickly take a recap of whatever we have done so far, give an overview of today's presentation, and then we get into details, the normal strategy that we normally follow. So when we speak about recap, we started our module on entrepreneurship management, module 1, by understanding what does entrepreneurship mean, what are the characteristics and the inherent drives the entrepreneur need to have to pursue his vision on building an enterprise. We also spoke on module 2 on how to analyze business environment, how to look into opportunities, how to look into first the internal attributes in terms of structure of the organization, the marketing intermediaries, and also on the other half looking at the external environment, be it in terms of social dimension, the cultural dimension, the demographic dimensions, so on and so forth. This is what we have taken in one of the modules. In the third module, we spoke about two aspects. One, the risk management in relation to entrepreneurship, and the role of women entrepreneurship globally and also in India. We spoke about, through various examples, we spoke about how the role of women in terms of building an empire. So a lot of entrepreneurs have been popping up and increasing their share in terms of contribution, rubbing shoulders with men when it comes to proportion is what we spoke about in that module. And the fourth module, we spoke about venture capital. We spoke about, since all enterprise requires capital, that means we define what capital means. In generic language, we spoke about money, and then we also spoke about how an entrepreneur can raise funds. Now, raising funds at different point of the journey has a different thing. For a startup, we also spoke about it could be the personal savings, family, friends. We spoke about angel investing. We also spoke about then two diversified forms in terms of debt and equity. Debt in terms of bank loans, grants, equity in terms of venture capitalists, where people invest their money and they actually get ownership. And we also spoke about IPO as well in venture capital, where IPO stand for initial public offerings, where a company gets listed in one of the Sensex. It could be BSE, it could be NSE, or any of the local exchange boards, and they disclose they run an IPO where stock options are given to public for offering, and hence one of the ways to raise funds. So this is what we have spoken till now. What today, friends, we are going to speak about is giving an one of the characteristics that we spoke about in our first module for entrepreneur to have was risk taking, and second primary attribute also is of innovation. So a module for today would be on innovation and entrepreneurship. So both actually run hand in glove when we speak of innovation and entrepreneurship. So we will look into the practice and principles, we look into the theoretical models, we look into the practical application perspective as well. So this is what we would try to delve into subject when it comes to innovation. Now friends, important to understand that we first mention that starting an enterprise in itself is a risky affair. That means that when you start an enterprise, you start with a risk, and the risk is of the money that you have, that you're going to put in, either your money or it could be angel money, investing money, capital, debt, equity, venture capital, whatever the case might be. You're putting in money. And when you're putting in money, that means you're putting in a risk, because you never know what the return would be. Because uh, any enterprise, when it moves to a market, it is moving to a very highly uncertain environment. Uncertainty in terms of political stability, uncertainty in terms of economical slowdown, uncertainty in terms of technological innovations or speed of innovation, uncertainty in terms of shorter uh, shelf life of products or services, where products which used to run earlier maybe for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, now the products or services, or the nature of the products or services, every 2-3 years. So will the product or service will survive more than 2 years? Are we technological upgrading? So those are all factors. It's a very highly uncertain environment. That is on the negative side. On the positive side, if you're looking at, there could be, this is the downfall, but there's also an upswing that can happen in terms of higher returns, phenomenal growth, higher acceptance by customers if you are actually matching needs, or environment that helps them. For example, when demonetization happened, the way Paytm grew, they grew by 2,500%. Friends, I repeat, Paytm, when demonetization happened in November 8, 2016, within the next 3 months, Paytm grew by 2,500%. That's phenomenal. Did Paytm plan to grow by 2,500%? Not really, because market conditions favored, and the vision was for digitalization. Paytm was a digital platform for many things. The subscription base went up by 2,500%. That's phenomenal. So there's an upswing associated as well, friends. So there's definitely an element of risk. So what we are trying to address today is the fact that we need to understand that it's, on one front we are saying it's a risky affair, right? On the other front, to minimize that risk, it is very important to understand that if we are giving a product or services which is more adaptable, applicable from a customer perspective, makes more sense. And that can only happen if an entrepreneur drives innovation. Now, when we speak of innovation, we need to be very clear about certain words that are interchangeably used. Now, one of the characteristics that we spoke about that an entrepreneur need to have, we spoke about, was creativity. Now we need to understand at this point of time, how is creativity different from innovation? Now creativity, dictionary definition says that anything that you want to try out new is creativity. Now creativity could be in terms of thought, process, product, management style, approaching customer, different areas that we can speak about. But when we speak of creativity, that's about creativity, something new. Innovation is when that new thing comes up as a product or service, is innovation. Now just thinking new, visualizing new, your concept might be great, but it needs to find practical application. It needs to be feasible from an economic dimension. It needs to be penetrative to reach customer ends, because your product is good or great. If it can't reach your end customer, it doesn't serve the purpose. So the point is, innovation is either a product or service where it reaches to the customer. It's an application front as well. That's how creativity and innovation are different. So let's take forward. So what we are going to look into, the preface is what we have spoke about on on the context of what we are speaking, because an entrepreneur cannot run an enterprise with his old way of thinking, with his old way of functioning, with his old way of products, with his old philosophies of management styles. It cannot. So it's important that I'll just want to give an example at this point of time. Let's take at this module itself. Now, education. Let's speak about ISBM itself. Education today we know have become online, right? I mean, right from various educational groups now provide online distance education in terms of tutorials, in terms of classes, lectures. Let me tell you, ISBM was the first in Indian market to go online, to make it really big. A very innovative concept thought about by the CEO of ISBM, Dr. Vinay Agrawal. That also means that he was innovative in his way of thinking, approaching, trying, testing, risk-taking. Isn't that the case? Very much. Now we have many players, but ISBM has stood a test of time for last 10-15 years, going strong, getting into a university status as well. So at the point that it was started in early 2000, it was risk. Was it innovative? Yes, because going digital, going distance education, going with online lectures was in itself an innovative strategy. And there are various other examples that we will speak about as we move forward as well. So this would be the preface. It would be also about entrepreneurial economy. We'll also speak about practice of innovation. So it's not just about you know a concept, but you need to develop that as well. Entrepreneurship strategies, what all methods do we have as strategies, and the entrepreneurial socially, how it could be connected. So when we look into the practice, this is what we are going to deal with, systematic entrepreneurship. We'll speak about 7 sources from which innovation strategy could be looked upon. Those are the unexpected, incongruences, process needs, industry and market scenarios, demographics, changes in perception, new knowledge, the bright idea, and the principles of innovation. That's what we are going to cover as far as the module is concerned. Systematic entrepreneurship. Now, we know we have already tried to understand this, that the entrepreneurship is economic theory and social theory. If you see over a few decades or so, the number of people who are going to have a startup company have risen up substantially, and that's about because people want to have freedom in their work. They don't want to report to the bosses. They want to try out new things. And we also looked upon that the methodology, and it is a risky affair. We also spoke, when we spoke about entrepreneurship, is it's a gradual shift. Now, why has been this in the last couple of decades, a shift that many people are venturing out to become an entrepreneur? Number one, people are moving from poor country to developing country to developed country. So what happens if it's a poor country, you don't have much resources to start. So once people start building wealth for themselves, when people work and gradually the country evolves, people have resources as savings, and then they want to invest that saving to start a new venture. So we have also defined in terms of new ways. The US way would be who starts his own new and small business. And Drucker's comment, Peter Drucker's comment would be entrepreneurship does not need small, new and economic affairs. That means that people have always been evolving when it comes to growing entrepreneurship model. Drucker's concept would be entrepreneur creates something new, something different. They change and transmute values. Now, when we are looking at the primary definition of Peter Drucker itself, something new, something different. Now, friends, important to understand, even to have this understood means they need to be innovative, isn't it? Yes. Entrepreneurs see change as a norm and as healthy. Now, there are two ways of thinking styles, primarily, psychologically, and those are number one is the is is the procedural way to think. Now, some people love the procedures; they love doing the same things. They evolve from it, but they love doing the same things. The other is the optional mindset, wherein people want to think differently and also do differently. They get bored very fast when they do the same things for even a shorter period of time. So one, we have the procedural mindset. On the other hand, we have an optional mindset. Entrepreneurs generally have an optional mindset. That means they always look for, okay, what else? Anything, what's new? Anything else that I can do? So that's the premise of innovation. The entrepreneur always searches for change, responds to it, and exploit as much as opportunities. Now, imagine, uh, let's take shampoos for that matter. Now, shampoos always worldwide were available in bottles. Looking into the Indian market, there were companies who innovated looking into the Indian demographics, the lifestyle, the population category. India, in fact, was the first country to bring in with a small sachet when it comes to shampoos, and it started with shampoos. So we have a small pack size. So it gives lesser burden on the pocket for a developing country like India matters, and that itself is an innovation in packaging, isn't it? Yes, because for a developing country, getting a full-size bottle would be slightly expensive for a developing country like India when it comes to population at large. So sachet worked well. So we have a smaller volume, small cost. Concept of this sachet then went in for all areas, right from toothpaste to oil. You have a 1 rupee oil as well. So this is innovation, isn't it? Yes, innovation looking into the current scenarios. So an entrepreneur always looks at opportunity. Now, friends, important to understand over here, innovation, don't think only as a product, that the product has to be new. Yes, innovation could be even within a product, something else could be different. It could be innovation in services, innovation in delivery, innovation in connecting. So these are all innovation. As an example, method of delivery of teaching is innovation. That's what ISBM did when it comes to relating. Or sachets or shampoos, the small size sachets when it comes to shampoos, these are all innovation. So we need to look into how innovation changes many things. An entrepreneur is very keen first to identify opportunities based on what my end client needs and can I deliver them, serve them with those values. So entrepreneurship is commonly believed is enormously risky, and we have mentioned about it. So entrepreneurship is risky because so few of the so-called entrepreneurs know what they are doing and they lack methodology. So a lot of time it is risky because a lot of time people just go with the flow with the passion. Now, friends, important to understand, yes, passion is important, but this passion need to be directed well. There has to be a, a systematicity in the chaos. I would put it this way. So chaos is randomness or haphazardness. So there has to be a systematicity as well in that randomness. So entrepreneurship does need, however, to be systematic, to be managed. Above all, it needs to be based on purposeful innovation. So So if I am to put in the structure of an entrepreneur, of an enterprise, there need to be a people who need to be innovative, and then once you devise a product or a service, then it has to be managed well so that it evolves further. So because if we continuously keep on changing, nothing is going to work. So we need changes. Yes, we also need people. So that's precisely the reason for a successful entrepreneurship. It says that your core team who are the part of management should be optional mindset or visionary to always keep on changing, thinking different. At the middle level, we call the management level or managers level or supervisors level, they are the bandwidth of the organization, maybe one person, two-person, who run the show, who manages the process, who are procedural in nature, who repeat the things, who keep on evolving the things. So there are two ways to look about it. One, they say that a light bulb was never invented with systematic improvement of candles, isn't it? A light bulb was never invented with systematic improvement of candles. Yes or no? Yes. So when Edison discovered the light bulb, it was innovation. It was very different from what was happening, conventional. It was all candles, the flame. He went on to bring in tungsten as an element which illuminates light. So that was absolute innovation from that's radical thinking, isn't it? Purposeful innovation and seven sources of innovation. So we look into how people get into innovation. So the theory and practice of innovation, systematic innovation, and the seven sources of innovating opportunities. So we look into through what ways there are that the sources of innovation could be explored. So when we speak about innovation itself, innovation is a specific instrument of entrepreneurship. It is the act that endows resources with a new capacity to create wealth. Now understand that innovation, now there is a normal frame for each one of us as a mankind, as a humankind. We are always interested in what's new. We go to a marketplace, we say, okay, is there something new that has come up? Even the existing segment. So we are interested in what's new. If something is new at the marketplace, people are ready to pay money if it's worth it. Yes or no? And that's what entrepreneurs thrive on. They are looking at the marketplace through data mining and data analysis or through market research, identifying needs of how we can serve people better, how we can add value either to product and services which is new, and if it does add value, customers are ready to pay a price for, and that's very important to understand. Now, and there are various examples to substantiate this. Now, for example, look at all models of car. Now, every car, right from an elementary model of a Maruti 800 to a Beetle, they all have engines, they all have four wheels, they have a steering, so on and so forth. Same thing. But the pricing starts from what, 2-3 lakhs to 2-3 crores. That's the bandwidth. So at every point of time, what innovators have done is identified needs and found out what does they need and how they can redefine it. So a lot of people, they say when it comes to iPhone or even a car for that matter, people have advertised that for Renault, if you see, they say, no, it's not a car, it's a car. That means they have looked into the self-esteeming needs of a customer. According to as you're well aware of self-actualization needs of Maslow, those are self-esteeming bandwidth of the customer that they're catering to, where Whether it's a car or an iPhone, it's not just a phone then. It's a status symbol. It's about uh, meeting those unmet needs of self-esteeming through a product, through a service. So whatever changes the wealth producing potential of already existing resources consisting innovation. Innovation does not have to be only technical, we mentioned this. It can also be economic or social as well. Now, innovation can be defined as a changing the yield of the resource or definition in demand terms rather than in supply terms. That is, as changing the value and satisfaction obtained from resources by the customer. So, with existing resources, can I change? Let's just like the sachet example that we spoke about in shampoos. The shampoo is same, but the packaging is different based on needs. Is that innovation? Yes, very much. Innovation in supply chain, in delivery, in packaging, that is innovation. Let's take another example of innovation. Uh, if you are aware of rabies, now friends, rabies is caused due to dog bites. Now, if you know a bit of dog bites, where earlier people used to take almost 20-25 injections in the stomach to prevent rabies, which is caused by dog bites through a virus, transmission of a virus. Now, taking injection 20-25 injections on the gut is a painful thing, isn't it? So, what pharma companies did is, can we change the methodology, the drug, the process in such a way that's more helpful to the patient? Yes, they did. So now if you take a rabies vaccine, you just require three or five shots based on the dog bites and the nature of the dog bite. 3 or 5, and that too not on the stomach. So what happens is, it's less painful to the patient. Is it adding value to the patient? Yes. One, no 20-25 injection from the gut. Two, the injections reduced from 20-25 to only 3 or 5. Less pain. Is that value? Yes. Is that innovation in pharmacology and understanding pharma drug cycle? Yes. So, point is, innovation happens even wherever we can add value to the customer base. Successful entrepreneurs and systematic innovation. Now, successful entrepreneurs have to learn the practice of systematic innovation. So, on one side, we spoke that Edison didn't discover light bulb with continuous improvement of candles. Yes, I repeat, Edison didn't innovate light bulb through continuous improvement of candles. Yes. On the other hand, also is the light bulb that Edison invented. Is it the same light bulb that we use now? Not really, isn't it? Is there a systematic innovation there? Yes. So within the same light bulb, how the light bulb could be evolved better, how it could consume less electricity, how is it is more soothing to eyes. Otherwise, the earlier the tungsten bulbs we used to use, it used to have a lot of strain on the eyes, which was decreasing the quality of the vision. So, is there now a continuous development for bulbs also required? Yes. So, from Edison days to now, is there a systematic innovation of bulbs? Yes. So, tell me, innovation, is it systematic or random? Both, isn't it, friends? It requires randomness to make it a radical thinking, and yet within that it requires systematicity as a process to evolve as well. So successful entrepreneurs do not wait until the muse kisses them and gives them a bright idea. So innovation, when we speak about, it's not just about bringing out new product or services. Now, innovation, the starting point for many entrepreneurs is they say that any product or service, they say cost, quality, convenience, time. Four variables: cost, quality, convenience, time. Now, all these four variables could be a starting point for innovation. Now, can I reduce, with the existing product or services, can I reduce the cost? Is that value for a customer? Yes. Now, can I reduce the cost by design re-engineering, by applying a different process, or changing the medium of delivery? For example, online products, if you see, uh, is that redefining selling and marketing? Big time, because what is available in a shop and what's available through an online portal would be two different rates because overhead costs are less. So can I reduce cost? Is that value? Yes. Quality. Can I give improved quality at the same cost? Is that value? Yes. Convenience. Can I make the system, the process, service more convenient? We call this the ease of use. For example, nobody attended or took a WhatsApp training course, how to use WhatsApp, isn't it? And yet today you'll find right from a kiddos to 90s 100, age of 90 and 100, people can easily use WhatsApp. Is that customer friendliness, ease of use, convenience? Yes. Is that value? Yes. Does that help to uh, uh, use from a usability quotient? Is that more usable? Yes. So cost, quality, convenience, time. If I can give a product or service in lesser time, is that value? Yes. So can I reduce my turnaround cycle? For example, if you fly often, they say that for them the turnaround time of the aircraft is important to give more ROI or return on investment. So there is once a flight reaches a airport, one of the critical defining parameters for them is how much time does it take for turnaround. Turnaround means for cleaning, for maintaining, and ready for the next flight is the turnaround time. The lesser the turnaround time, the more profitable the business becomes because it can take more flights. So reducing the turnaround time, that means reducing the time. Is that value also for the customer? Yes, for sure. For example, Just Dial, if you're aware of, Just Dial was the first company. Just Dial is into giving contact details and addresses of people, of companies, people involved. Now, Just Dial was the first one to introduce this concept called as within the first 3 rings, the call need to be picked up. Now tell me, if you pick up the call on 3rd ring or 10th ring, does it make a difference? I beg it does. Does it show importance to the customer? Yes. So it showed promptness, responsiveness. Is that value? Yes. Is that innovation as a process? Yes. So when we speak of systematic innovation, the overwhelming majority of successful innovation exploit change. Systematic innovation consists in the purposeful and organized search for changes and systematic analysis of the opportunities such change might offer of economic or social innovation. So any systematicity with my existing solution or solution that exists in the marketplace, can I make it still better in terms of cost, quality, convenience, time? Let's take another example in terms of convenience. If you see, if we all use smartphones and every now and then we get a notification, do you want to update the application? Yes or no? It does. Now, what does updation give? Updation gives more convenience. Updation gives more application. Does it add more value to the end customer? It does. So every 3 months, if you see any app that we are using, ask us for an update on the thing that we're using. So what happens is, with this update for the end customer, it becomes more customer friendly. It is a discipline. When you speak of systematic innovation, it is of innovation diagnostic discipline, a systematic examination of areas of change that typically offers entrepreneurial opportunities. Systematic innovations means monitoring 7 sources of innovating opportunities. So, and what are the sources? So, 7 sources of innovative opportunities would be: number 1, the unexpected. The unexpected could be success, unexpected could be failure or an event, and we'll discuss that each of these in detail. The second, the incongruity, the reality as it actually is, assumed to be and ought to be. Innovation based on process needs. What are the process be? Change the industry structure or market structure that catch everyone unaware. So, for example, if you're in the fashion industry, now fashion industry, we know the turnaround time for a fashion industry is 2 months, 3 months. Every 2 months, 3 months, the trend changes, the fad changes. So if you're in India, you have if you're into ladies apparel, you have this frequent changes in design and the structure as well. So right from a cold shoulder these days, which is very relevant, which is very much in thing today, but you know within 6 months all is going to change. The demographic or population changes, changes in perception of mood and meaning, and new knowledge, both scientific and non-scientific. And we'll look into all these 7 sources one by one. So the first source lies within the enterprise and are visible primarily to people within. So the first source is exist within the system itself. They are highly reliable indicators of changes that already happened or can be made to happen with little effort. So it is the unexpected thing that happens, either in terms of expected event or the change itself. Second, the seconded three source involves changes outside the enterprise or industry. The 7th source requires separate analysis for each of its own distinct characteristics as well. Source 3, the unexpected. We know that the unexpected success, for example, the Paytm example that we gave, was it a success? Yes, growing by increasing the subscription base within 3 months by 2,500%. Is that success? Yes. Was it planned? No. Was it healthy? Yes. What is unexpected? Yes. The unexpected failure. Let's take an example. Let's take an example. Okay, let's take an example of pager. Now, pager, when it was launched in early 90s, was a phenomenal success when it comes to messaging service, because people who were overseas, people who were into mining industry, people who used to commute, move around, didn't had a landline connect to them to call and connect people. There was a fantastic pager service where people used to get the message and they would then revert by a call or whatever the case might be. But the pager industry within an year shut off. Simple reason: technological innovation, where smartphones came in or mobile phones came in. Unexpected failure. So companies like Motorola, who were very big when it comes to paging, Did they plan that failure? Not really. Was it unexpected? Very much. The unexpected outside event. We know what outside event might happen, be it in terms of socially, politically, they might be very different. So you never know. The unexpected success. So offered the most richest opportunities for successful innovation with less risky and less arduous. The Paytm example that we spoke about. Yet the unexpected success is almost totally neglected. So even if it is unexpected, for entrepreneurs, they can't just discount it. It is important. Can they take certain feedbacks as what are certain nudges? What are certain propulsion factors that we can take up as lessons from this learning as well? The first thing is to ensure that the unexpected is being seen. It must be properly featured in the information management obtains and study. From going back to the example of Paytm, now since they knew 2500% rise in subscription base in 3 months post demonetization, they know they could not sustain that growth because that was an event based thing. But the point is, they also need to find out now internally, what can I do so that I give a structure to it, so that I can sustain it as well. The management must look at every unexpected success with the questions, what would it mean to us if we exploited it? What could lead to us? What would we have to do to convert into an opportunity? And how do we go about it? So what are things that we can take it from here? So that's the reason Paytm then get into into banking. They get into a financial institution from this force and energy. So unexpected success is an opportunity in itself. It demands innovation. It actually forces us to ask what basic changes are now appropriate for this organization in this way, and defines its business, its technology, its markets as well. If these questions are faced up to, then the unexpected success is likely to open up, the most rewarding and the least risky of all the innovative opportunities. So if you look into unexpected success, it's generally less risky as well. The unexpected failure. Now, if something failed despite being carefully planned, now it's important to understand failure despite being carefully planned, designed and consciously executed, the failure often bespeaks underlying change and with it opportunity. So they say if something is not working over a period of time, do something else. I repeat, if something is not working, do something else. If something is not working over a period of time, you've looked into, analyzed it, you need to do something else. Maybe in terms of design, maybe in terms of process, maybe in terms of restructuring, maybe in terms of a paradigm shift in certain process. The assumption on which a product or service, its design or its marketing, it could be any of those. Is there a chance so that redesigning could be worked on becomes important. The unexpected failure, when we record, the unexpected failure demands that you go out and look out and listen. It's important. So when a product or service doesn't work, it is time to do grassroots work. It's time to understand needs better. It's time to do a lot of data mining. It's time to do a lot of market research. It's time to come back to within the organization and find out what changes could be done based on those research and needs. Failure should always be considered a symptom of an innovative opportunity and taken seriously as such. So any failure that an entrepreneur faces while he is going through gives him the opportunity to give better. The unexpected outside event. Now, unexpected outside events are often more important. It is a condition of success in exploiting the unexpected event that must fit the knowledge, the expertise of one's own business. So we spoke about a technological innovation. Now, any technological innovation that is happening outside, let's take an example. If there is a enterprise or an entrepreneur who is into delivery of taxis, private cabs, and his model of working was through telephone. That means he used to put banners on in the area and vicinity that he used to live in. That he used to advertise and market. People used to see it, distribute pamphlets, and through word of mouth. That was the two main sources through which he used to get more customers. This was relevant, was good, okay, maybe 10 years back. Moving further now, this if the entrepreneur is still living and surviving with the same model, he will struggle for the simple reason. Now, technologically, people need online support structure, need to be connected well. Within the cab service, let's take an example of Meru, if you've heard about. Now, Meru always functioned on the model of telephone. You give a call to the Meru center, they book a cab, and the cab comes in. With coming of Ola and Uber, which are online app model, and the model that suits in such a way that you can actually track where the cab is, what the driver details, so on and so forth, what are the ratings, the charges, so on and so forth, which Meru as an organization, who is also into cab service provider, adapted so very slow to changes that is almost out of the market. Now they have an app which is good 3, 4, 5 years late as per industry standards. So with any technological change that's happening, need to adopt fast. You take a Nokia for an example. So when all Android features were coming into with Samsung and other major players, Nokia was still into the feature phones, which are not going to work, kind of shut down, and by now they have entered with smartphones. So any external event that's happening need to adapt and make use of those changes becomes a very important part of innovation for entrepreneurs. Incongruences. So incongruous economic realities, where incongruency between reality and the assumptions about it. A lot of time entrepreneurs forecast, assume that this is what the market would be 5 years down the line. This is what the product need would be by the customer. Now these assumptions need to be there for sure. That's how people innovate. But time and again, a reality test need to be done. A check need to be done. A dip test need to be done. A litmus test need to be done. The incongruency between a reality and the assumption about perceived and actual customer value and expectation, where people need to bring in database into what people are thinking about it, becomes important. Process needs. Now, since supply delivery chain itself has evolved so much, now companies exist because they only look into supply chain, and supply chain as an industry, be it in terms of warehousing, logistics, inventory management, the payroll support. So supply chain as such in the last 2-3 decades has phenomenally and radically transformed things, and that's part of the process. So need is a major innovative opportunity where process need exists within the process of a business, an industry, or a service. It perfects a process that already exists. So when we speak of supply chain, weren't goods used to reach the end customer? They were. So what does the process give? The process gave ease of convenience. The process gave reduced time lag. to which it gave to the customer. The process reduced the cost of the organization. Are they value? Yes. Are they innovation? Very much yes. So incongruencies and demographics may be the most common cause of process needs, because since population have expanded, companies want to penetrate to newer markets, want to go deep and touch upon all spectrum of customers. It's important how they can be innovative in reaching out to different customer base. So when it comes to process needs, there are 5 innovative criteria to go about it. This one, the self-contained process. Within the existing system, how can I redefine it? How can I change few things? The one big missing link. So finding out any one aspect that I can change. So process involves various things, right? Now friends, the starting point is, can I take up one thing and look for development? A clear definition of objective. A lot of time, the objectives which are defined as a task itself needs to be defined well, because defining gets a very clear idea of what they want. Then the specification of the solution can be defined clearly. So if we exactly know what the objective is, then we can satisfy the need accordingly. For example, identification of customer need needs to be defined very clearly. Now, for example, if a customer, can we call the customer wants at low cost? Is that a complete sentence? No, that's only a part sentence. Can a customer still pay more cost if more value is provided? Yes. So that means that it's not just about cost. So one way of going about is I reduce the cost. The other way is, can I increase the value of my product? By identifying needs which the company has not explored further. Identify needs which are unmet. Those needs as well could be looked upon. Widespread realization that there ought to be a better way, that is high receptivity. Very important to have a mental framework saying that, okay, what else? There's something exists which is still better. So the famous quote, the best is yet to come. So having that quote, that we are evolving, we are learning, we are keeping on improving ourselves. So there's always the next level, to call it so. So the 3 important caveats or caution statements. Number 1, the need must be understood. Now, very important, from a customer perspective, we need to identify what the need is. We may even understood a process and still not have the knowledge to do the job. So we might know what needs to be done, but we don't know how to do it. So the objective might be defined, but we call the know-how, the technical expertise to do it. The solution must fit the way people do the work and want to do it. So anything that we give, so we know what the need is, we know how to do it. We also want to give to the end customer in such a way that they can use it. So we call the ease of convenience to use it. Customer friendliness is important. Industry and market structures. Now, innovation also happens with how the structural dynamic changes. Automobile industry, for that matter, is a classic example where when Henry Ford started off with his journey of automobile, the sole principle was on economies of scale, where he could reduce the cost of an automobile by increasing the number of automobiles they prepare, and also by bringing in automation as well. But just in automobile itself, is economies of scale only way to do business? Not really, isn't it? Mercedes-Benz proved it, Audi proved it, uh, and Land Rover proved it. Now, all these have proved it that economy, the scale is not the only way to go about it. So, if we can look into certain other needs of the customer, self-esteeming needs, social needs, uh, it becomes important over here. The opportunity to explore becomes important. When the industry structure changes, when the entire industry dynamics change itself, let's look at the telecom industry, uh, current happenings in India. The telecom industry, if you see 5 years back, there were at least 15 to 20 service providers apart from the government regulated bodies of BSNL, MTNL and BSNL. Apart from that, there were 10, 12 private players. Now, with technological innovations right from a 2G, 3G, 4G and now forecasted 5G as well, things have changed phenomenally. Now, with Jio's launch and the theory of creative destruction, where they just gave free service or free data, calling inclusive for almost a period of 1 year, it just went through and cut off the entire, it killed competition in many ways, where Arcom of, of Reliance Industry itself was closed down just because of creative destruction. So the point is also that even the strategic moves, how the industry structure changes. Now, following this launch of Jio, you'll find all telecom companies, right from Airtel to Vodafone, reducing their cost substantially, following may not be as competitive as what Jio gives, but also it kind of tailor-made to suit in such a way that they give other value-added services as well. Industry and market structure, when we speak about industry and market structure, sometimes lasts for many years and may completely be stable. Now, for example, refinery industry, textile industry, coal and petroleum industry. Now, these are industries which by and large have played stable for many decades, to call it so. Actually, market and industry structure are quite brittle. Very few industries remain stable that way. One small scratch and they disintegrate, often fast. Many companies are shut down because of the changes in structure of industry dynamics. When this happens, every member of the industry has to act. Let's take an example out here. Now, friends, let's take an example of Telegram. Now, Telegram we know was so much important tool when it comes to urgent communication, isn't it? Does it exist? No, unfortunately no, because of technological upgradation and the shift of communication through other sources. So Telegram lost its value. Although a government agency, but Telegram is closed down. Doesn't exist because it doesn't now meet the needs. There are better sources available. So happens in so many industries. It might not close down, all industry might not close down, but the growth parameters definitely can slow down phenomenally. To continue to do business as before is almost a guarantee of disaster. So sometimes we need to take a call when to stop over and change industry. A change in a market or industry structure is also a major opportunity for innovation. So even if that happens, the right way to go about it as a thinking process would be, this would give an opportunity for change. Now, let's come back to the example of Ola and Uber launch in India 5 years back. There were very small players who were doing local businesses of providing cab services across the country, more so in metros. So when Ola and Uber came with their ease of convenience, lower cost, better quality, lot of the small bit-sized players, it could be one person, three person, small companies, almost perished. They were forced to do some other businesses because the entire structure of doing business changed. Let's take another example, shopping malls. Now, if you see 1990s era in Indian scenario was the emergence of lot of shopping malls, right from Big Bazaar to Akbar Ali was the first one to have the concept of shopping malls or shopping stores or convenience stores to call it so. So from Akbar Ali's to Big Bazaar, and then a host from a Central Mall to an Inox and so many of them. That was the 90s era. Now with emergence of e-markets, that means you can actually purchase right from a vegetable, a slipper, to a TV, washing machine, sitting in your bedroom with your handset with great offers. Is that impacting shopping malls? Yes. You will find that now the number of people seen in a mall have gone down as it was 10 years back, because people can do all of that with possibly a lesser cost, because mall have a high pricing because of the infrastructure, the AC, so and so other factors, and hence you will find a lot of offers now being given, where they just run on cost to cost, because of volume purchases. So with the change in industry dynamics as well, a lot of things changes. The opportunity. So a change in industry structure offers exceptional opportunities, highly visible and quite predictable to outsiders. But the insiders perceive them same change primarily as threats. Now, a lot of time, people who are procedural in orientation, people who love to do the same things, any new thing that comes in, people tend to resist it. For example, when desktops came in, people who were using the typewriters said that why is the need to change? Can we change all typewriters in the world? We cannot. It has been so well established concept. But nobody uses typewriters these days. So that means that whenever any change is happening, it is important to understand that what are the signs that people want to be in. So when this transformation was happening in 90s, so a lot of entrepreneurs jumped into the bandwagon of IT industry, of providing franchise for laptops, taking franchisee for laptops or desktops, either of Samsung, LG, Sony, whatever the case might be, Acer, or the service provider for desktops. Also, you have training centers for how to run computers, right from the basic courses to advanced courses. So is that change for an entrepreneur? To have the eye to look at an opportunity becomes important. When industry structure changes, 4 indicators are: the most reliable and the most easily spotted of these indicators is rapid growth of an industry. So if you look into the market scenario, look into what kind of industries are growing on a higher rate. By the time an industry growing rapidly have doubled in volumes, the way it perceives and services its market is likely to have become inappropriate. So it is important that industries which are growing, and that's the reason if you see angel investors, what they do is or venture capitalists, what they do is they figure out what are the industries and which are the companies who are growing in double digit or possibly triple digit and want to invest money over it. Another development that will predictably lead to certain changes in industry structure is a convergence of technologies were seen as distinctly separate. So sometimes, now let's look at the handset itself. Now, is the mobile phone that you're using, is it just a mobile phone? No. Diversified things have now fitted into the phone. Does a mobile phone has a calculator? Yes. Does a mobile phone used as a radio? Yes. Can a mobile phone used as a computer? Yes. Can a mobile phone used as a banking service tool? Yes. Can a mobile phone used as an application to see at weather forecast reports, news channels? Yes. Can a mobile be used as 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 what? As actually everything. Can a mobile phone be a market for yourself, a shopping mall? Yes. So convergence of technologies gives more opportunities for entrepreneurs. An industry is ripe for basic structure, changes the way it does business and is changing rapidly as well. So industry and market structure, if you see, innovation that exploits changes in industry, structures are particularly effective in the industry and markets are dominated by one large manufacturer or supplier or by a few. If you see, whenever industry changes happens, there are invariably either one, two players or only a few players who lead the market. As such, for example, mobile phone itself, when you're speaking of mobile phone, let's look at the major market players. There are only few, right from an Apple to a Samsung to an Indian scenario. If you look in terms of handset preparer, could be a Micromax. Again and again, when market or industry structure changes, the producers or suppliers who are today's leaders will be found neglecting the fast growing market segments. So people who are already leader in a particular segment and some changes happen, they neglect the people who are going with a double growth because they think that themselves are leaders. Why there's a need? For example, what Facebook CEO says, he says that I am not worried about competition from my peers. I am worried about the engineers who are working in a godown to think new. So what Mark Zuckerberg, I repeat, he says that I'm not worried about competition. He's worried about 2-3 engineers who are thinking new in a godown. Now, is that a thought? Yes. That means even if you might be market leaders, but you look into what other things are happening as well. Very important for an entrepreneur. The innovator in this area therefore has a good chance of being left alone if he is not observing the market dynamics as well. Characteristics of successful innovative companies would be systematic collection of all the impulses that could lead to innovation. So what's happening around, what are the impulses that are happening around as well becomes important. Creativity of employees. So developing a culture of innovation. Ability to evaluate the possibility of the innovation idea. Feasibility, practicalness, economics. Good teamwork. Project-based approach and ability to manage projects. So whenever an innovation project is taken up, it's not run across the organization. They pick up a project and want to apply it. And we'll speak about each of this. So cooperation with external experts, universities, research laboratories, proper rates of risk taking, how much to take a risk, where not to take a risk, employees motivation. So looking into how the employees would be motivated for creative thought, continued education of employees, ability to finance the innovation activities. It's important to understand. So it's not just being creative. It is important to know that it requires resources. It requires capital to build on the creative thought. So how much to apply and what will be the limit about it becomes important. So if you look into Oslo's Manual of Innovation for an entrepreneur, those would be few. Those are: one, product innovation. We innovate the product itself for better application. For example, the iPhone series, right, from an iPhone 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, they have innovated on the product itself. It could be process innovation. Now, we'll look into a few examples, be it in the turnaround time, the just-in-time approach, they're all process innovation. Marketing innovation, how innovation could be done through marketing itself. So gone are times when people used to market through pamphlets, only through banners or only through advertisements. So now we have road shows, now we have open theaters, now we have adverts when it comes to Google, SEOs in terms of Google search engines. It could be organizational innovation about restructuring of how the organization flows. So it could be any of these levels. So technological innovation is based on specific technology, invention or discovery. Social innovations in critical historical periods more important than technological ones. Male, educational system, social system, healthcare. So the social dynamics also need to be taken care of when it comes to social innovation. The degree of novelty. Now what is novelty? Novelty is the difference, the nicheness that a product or service brings on the table. So the range of difference would be, it could be incremental, just like evolution of bulb or a candle, that's also innovation. It could be radical, the bulb evolving has no connect with candles, it's completely different, radical. Or it could be systematic innovation. So there is a system of evolved, there is an approach involved to innovation. So classification of innovation, if you see, can be system based or component based. For example, for system, it could be new series of cars, planes, computers, TVs. It could be MP3s, it could be steam engines. Component based, it could be based on improvement of components, new components or advanced materials as well. And there are three ranges, incremental or radical. So any of these could happen. It could be incremental change. For example, when we started off with phone itself, we started with a very basic feature phones with a lot of stuff, which had the only purpose of calling, messaging, a camera, right? But then it moved on systematically. Then the camera resolution improved. Then a rear end and a front end camera came in. Further application came in. Then a computer through a data network was connected to a mobile phone. So there is systematic evolution. Innovation process. Now, how to innovate? The innovation process could be research and development based, production, marketing. Now, innovation is important for something new, different. It is always based on change. And innovators do not view any change as a threat but an opportunity. It is always important that innovation, we know, is a risky affair. And any change that brings them on brings along new opportunities. So, friends, if you want to become an entrepreneur at some point of time in future, important to see change as opportunities. Focus. Is it important for innovation? Yes. So use the limited resources in the most effective manner. Focus is one of the following. It could be operational focus. It could be top quality product, or it could be perfect knowledge of customers. So it could be focus of any area. So it could be on how I can manufacture my product with high quality, how I can focus on my customer needs better, or how I can focus on treating my customer better with a good KYC of my customers. Or it could be also in terms of how I could reach out my product and service in a better way. So focus becomes the key for innovation. The recommendations would be, in this case, solve the correct problem, the correct problems correctly, be effective and efficient. Now, effectiveness and efficiency becomes important for innovation. Manage innovation as a project. So whenever an entrepreneur or an enterprise has taken up new thing, it need to take up as a project. Analyze the risk involved. So any change, anything new that you are doing brings along with a risk, that's for sure. Use models, scenarios, computer simulations. So when it comes to computer simulation, there are game theories, there are models based on probability as well, which looks into how the change is going to bring in with this superimposed model. So study examples of successful and unsuccessful innovation projects. So also looking into external references. Who has done this before? Who has worked on this model before? Who has worked, not achieved results? What are the factors that led to failures? What are the factors that led to success? So becomes important when you're innovating. What to do? So it comes to the process of innovation. What to do is the process, and the process factors are these. Start with analysis and study of opportunities. It starts there. Finding opportunities, hunting opportunities is the right word. Go among people, ask questions, and that's where data mining, market research becomes important. Listen, what do they want? Effective innovations are surprisingly simple. It's not about being complex, it's about being more simple. They must be focused on specific needs and on specific final products. Effective innovation starts on a small scale. So innovation, we don't go big to start off. We trial test it. We apply the thought and want to trial test it on a small scale, and then make it big based on the response. A successful innovation always tries to win a leading position. Otherwise, you create opportunities for your own competitors. So it is important for entrepreneurs to know this, that if you are bringing in a new innovation, the innovators look at how I can get a lead time so that competitors don't copy it, or they will take time to copy. So there will be a lead time. So that lead time is a time when, if the product clicks or service clicks, the innovators or the enterprise or the entrepreneur makes the maximum profits during that phase, because you are kind of solo player in the market. It has got a phenomenal response, and you're making big. For example, Paytm was one of the first of its product which gives you financial application based transaction. Now there are quite a few, right? From PayPal to PayLink to MobiLink, QuickLink, so many of them. They're eating into the market for profit. But the initial, we call the first mover advantage. The first mover advantage becomes important. What to avoid, what you should not do. Don't try to be too clever. That means that all that is too sophisticated will almost certainly go wrong. So knowing that ease of use becomes important. Don't try to do too many things at once. Focus on the core of the problem. So don't try too many things. Try few things, see how it works. Don't try to make innovation for the future, but for today. So you might look at future needs, but you're looking at the present scenario. Innovation can have a long-term impact, but there must be an immediate need for it. So innovation, we are looking at future needs, but if an end customer doesn't relate to it today, doesn't make much more sense. So it has to be present based. Conditions required for innovation are: innovations means work hard, concentrated and thoroughly work. If these qualities are lacking, then there is no wish of big talent. So it's not just about a creative thought. Hard work is important. Consistency and disciplines of hard work are important, and focus is important. Successful innovation must build on your strong points. So they say playing from your strengths, or playing a jiu-jitsu is important. Play to what you're good at. The innovation must be important for the innovator, and innovation must focus on market, must be controlled by the market. There has to be a pull in the market. So a lot of time it happens that the company innovates a product and service and they say we have a great product to offer, and the customer says your product might be great but we don't want it. So it has to be based on what market needs, a customer needs is. So there has to be a market pull. Just to define how innovation matters, 1990s building, 2005, same building, same location. Difference? Yes, very much. Assessment of companies' innovation potential. So we are also looking into now, there is a startup, there is an already enterprise doing an entrepreneur running a business, small setup. How he can assess the company's innovative potentials moving forward. So company innovation potentials could be looked into as a company with a high innovative potential scores high on this: strategic planning, marketing, technological process, quality management, logistics, human resources. Now all of these parameters that are mentioned, which are markers for it, are all processes. So they say on one hand we have process, on the other hand we have results. Now innovation or innovative product or service is a result. Now that result could only happen when these all processes fall in place, and that's very important. Innovative, if you look into for a company, it is important to know its innovation potential. It can be used the following questionnaire, and the questions could be, for every one of these 6 areas, there are 6 questions, each of which for the 4 possible answers. So we look into the questionnaire, what questions we could ask. Number 1, when it comes to strategic and planning, ideas about the company's future. Is there a vision? What is the vision the company has moving forward? Vision and employees. Now it's not just about the organization but also people working for the organization, the employees. Company innovative programs. So what kind of innovative strategies and plans the company has going forward? The plan modifications. So it's not just having a plan, but is the company continuously updating the plan, changing the plan based on market scenarios? Financial indicators of the plan. So what are the milestones, touch points that the organization is to put in to see its economic scalability as well? The project management. So who leads the team? Is it defined in terms of projects? So how are projects going to be led? Who is leading the project? Marketing. So when it comes to marketing, things include monitoring of current market trends, evaluation of marketing competition positions. So what are the competitors doing in the marketplaces? Customer orientation. Are we always focused on the end need of the customer? Monitoring of customer attitude to the company product. So it comes through a lot of questionnaire survey, feedback report, could be through external agency as well. Market information flow inside the company, and marketing and financial control as well. So these are the few touch points that are important from a marketing perspective. The technological process. So when you look at the technological process, the things involved are future companies' competitiveness in the industry. So it's always a good question to ask. My company might be doing well now, but after 5 years, would this still exist as a model in terms of a process? Would my product or services be worthwhile after 5 years, 10 years? 5 or 10 years become important. Changes of technological, at what change of technology am I going to adapt to it? Collection of impulses for implementation of technological changes. Evaluation of return on investment. So at every point of time, the ROI need to be taken care of whatever I'm investing for innovation, what returns I'm getting. Calculation of production cost. and their monitoring and creation of resources for the development. So they say the resources would never be complete, but am I optimizing my resources to the most in such a way that I am getting maximum leverage from whatever resources I'm using? The quality and the environment. So when we speak of quality and the environment, it means monitoring of changes, conditioning the quality management of the company. So there are, if you have heard about, a lot of companies who are into product manufacturing have a quality management system, or QMS, where every stages of production of a product is defined through benchmarks of quality management service system. The employee's personal contribution to the quality system. External quality audit. So a lot of companies who are into product manufacturing have always audit being run. Audit through external audit or internal audit. Monitoring of the company's environmental impact. Impact of quality monitoring on the company's processes. And covering of cost resulting from modifications of standard regulations and legislations as well. So what are the industry standards? What are the industry benchmarks that are there to define that? The logistics. Now logistics is an important part when it comes to any product or service for that matter. So organizations of purchase and distribution channels in the company are part of logistics. We all know that. So right from where the product gets manufactured till the time it is delivered to the customer are all comes with the category of logistics. Optimization of company's logistics is important. So it's about inventory management. It's about how I can optimize that so that I don't overload my inventory or undercut my inventory. Information and communication flows between the company and its partner. So am I in touch with my marketing intermediaries? Am I in touch with my internal and external customers when it comes to communication or clarity of communication? Flexibility of logistic process. Is there a flexible tool? Although the benchmarks and criteria are defined for logistics as well, but is there a flexibility with changes that could happen? Introduction of innovation in logistics and logistics and financial control as well becomes a very much detrimental factor when it comes to logistics as well. And we can never forget, friends, the role of human resource when it comes to organizational human resource. And the things that need to be factored in are satisfaction level. So for an entrepreneur, it is important to understand that he might have a vision, he might be creative in his thought, but are my people involved are satisfied about what they are doing, and are they excited for it as well? Employee motivation, are they motivated enough in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the salaries, in terms of the perks and benefits, in terms of their future, their goals, their colleagues, their relationship with the team? Management and communication. So good management practice helps. So good HR policies need to be there for that. Conflict resolution. Company's information systems. So what kind of MIS or communication system that exists, and what's the flow in terms of hierarchy that exists. The company's culture. What kind of culture the company has set for themselves, so that in terms of transparency, in terms of work ethics, in terms of communication, in terms of appraisals, in terms of promotion, in terms of bonus, in terms of performance bonus, in terms of benefits, so on and so forth. In the next half an hour or so, we would be addressing on the tools of communication. So this is all related to where all innovation could happen within the organization. It could be in management practices, in terms of products quality, in terms of logistics, in terms of resources. Now what tools are available to innovate. And this is an interesting part. The tools available are these. For general innovation as such, tools are benchmarking, brainstorming, we'll discuss one by one, brainstorming, business process reengineering, change management, technological audit, technological forecast, value analysis. For product innovation, it would be design. For X, quality function deployment. For general management, it could be failure mode and effect analysis, peer evaluation, team building, certifications of ISO 9000, total productive maintenance, or it could be process innovation tools. It could be design for assembly, lean thinking, continuous improvement, concurrent engineering, or just in time. So when we speak of benchmarking, what are benchmarks? Now, benchmarking is the process of improving performance by continuously identifying, understanding, and adapting outstanding practices and process found outside or inside the organization. Now, benchmarking of business is usually done with top performing companies. In other industry sectors, it is feasible because many businesses process essentially the same sector. So what benchmarking does is, they pick up from the same industry the benchmarks of the leaders into the process, way of functioning, rules and regulation, the operating manuals, and set those benchmarks within the organization. So they are basically processes. So let's take an example. Let's say Ola, when it was launched in India, it was actually replicated from a model of Uber, which was launched internationally in the early 2000s, the cab service providers. The world's biggest cab service provider, Uber, where Travis heads it. So when Ola was launched in India, it actually replicated the entire process of Uber in terms of usage of 3G, an application, the networks, the cab drivers, the model itself was benchmarked. Similarly, for other industries as well, benchmarking could be used. Brainstorming. Now, brainstorming is a methodology through which a thought is put forth on the table, and it's an open group discussion where the entrepreneurial team or the management team can sit, discuss, detail out what are the various methods and ways through idea generation. So brainstorming is an idea generation method wherein used by teams for identifying problems, alternative solution to problems, opportunities for improvement. So there's actually a discussion that happens where we are using many brains together to form new ideas. And brainstorming is used by many companies. Reengineering. So reengineering is a fundamental rethinking and radical design of business process to achieve dramatic improvements in critical contemporary measures of performance as cost, quality, service, and speed. Now, let's take an example. HIV drugs were, if you see in India, worldwide, HIV drugs or retroviral drugs are very expensive. So what Indian companies did in 80s and 90s, companies like Cipla, companies like Ranbaxy, Alchem, what these companies did was they reverse engineered the process. So as the product in pharmaceutical are patented, patents do exist in drugs, but what Indian companies did, they applied a process patent. That means they manufacture the same drug by a different process. And by doing so, they could reduce the cost of these drugs by 1,000-fold times. I repeat, thousand-fold times. Is that value to countries, poor countries or developing countries? Yes. Hence, lot of anti-HIV drugs were sent to Africa, to European countries, India as well. So, this innovation through re-engineering. Change management. So, change management is the process of aligning an organization's people and culture with system change, business strategy, and organizational structure. So, it's about change in terms of the organizational structure, the design thinking, as well comes in change management. So, specific techniques useful at different change management process steps could be, it could be making time, it could be time management techniques, preparing a vision statement through SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity and threat analysis, identify what factors will hinder change, force field analysis. It could be selling the change. That means internal marketing techniques that could be used. It could be developing a plan or strategic planning techniques. It could be learning or monitoring effectiveness through benchmarking could be done as steps. Technological audit. Now, a lot of manufacturing industries, a part of the quality management system is they on a very regular basis conduct audit. Now, audit are of two types. One, the internal audit. Now, audit is a surprise check on the process or on the product. Surprise check done by, suppose a plant is based in Mumbai, a manufacturing plant, and some other plant is based in say Surat or in Gujarat. So or the same company or the same organization. So somebody from Surat plant, internal people will come and visit Mumbai manufacturing plant and check for the product sample size and check for the quality based on the benchmarks that they have set for themselves. This is one way internal audit. The second is an external check, when they ask companies of other people or external body who are called external auditors for them to come and check as surprise any plant. Now these standards, because of this fear of audit, because if an audit report doesn't get cleared, then the people responsible, right from the plant manager to engineers and the supervisors, are being questioned. And hence this becomes a mechanism and tool through which quality benchmarks could be maintained, which is definitely an essential part of innovation. Technological forecast. So, if you've heard about business analyst, now business analyst is a job function where they study businesses, business impulses, they study what's happening around the marketplace in terms of technological innovation, patterns that are emerging as well. So, technological forecast includes all effort to project technological capabilities and to predict the intention and spread of technological innovations. A technological forecast actually includes 4 elements: the time of the forecast of the future, the date written in the forecast to be realized, the technological being forecast, and the characteristics of the technology. So, if you see everything now getting digital, is that now technology involved? Has it revolutionized banking? Yes. Has it revolutionized shopping? Yes. Has it revolutionized connecting and communicating to people? Yes. Has it revolutionized education? Yes. Has it revolutionized the way we travel? Big time. Or the way we book for travel has big time. So forecasting technological. Value analysis. Now, so when we always speak about what kind of value we are giving to a customer, the value could also be analyzed by a value analysis. So value analysis can be defined as a process of systematic review that is applied to existing product designs in order to compare the function of product required. So we, product to product or process to process, the value is compared so that re-engineering or reverse re-engineering could be applied. Peer evaluation. So when we speak of peer evaluation, it means that terms have specified goals. Team members have learned, and team goals cannot be accomplished unless everyone is in sync. So it's important that for any innovation to make it big, it's never, so what Steve Jobs always mentioned is big ideas can be never be big by single individuals. Big ideas only become big when there are teams involved, when there are people involved. It means that when an entrepreneur wants to drive an innovation with a change and looking for opportunity, his team need to be in synergy, because if an entrepreneur is having a big vision but his team is demotivated, they are not aligned to the common philosophies and vision of the organization, then it's a huge challenge. Team building, that also means that a team is a group of people working towards a common goal. So team building is a process of enabling that group of people to reach their growth so that the effective form of a team building, they understand each other, they communicate well, they look for opportunities for growth, they give feedback to each other for development, part of team building. The process innovation tools. These are general management tools that we spoke about. Now we look at the process management tools for innovation, and those are designed for manufacturing and assembly. So commonly used in manufacturing sector, the assembly lines. So design for manufacturing and assembly is a design for X tool, whatever the tool might be. It is a systematic procedure that aims to help companies make the fullest use of manufacturing processes that exist and keep the number of parts in an assembly to minimize it. For example, there is a bottling plant, maybe a distillery for the term, or a kiln. So the entire assembly line is made in such a way that with minimum workers, with maximum resource available, the thing is that water is bottled in a bottle with minimum time, with minimum resources and minimum cost, is part of the assembly line. Now Ford, we mentioned about it, Henry Ford was the first one to use assembly lines and hence made the car more affordable to the public at large, because he used assembly lines to manufacture cars in numbers. Lean thinking. So lean thinking is fortunately there's a powerful antidote to Muda. That is, lean thinking, it provides a way to specify value, line up value creating actions in the best sequence. So lean thinking is how I can reduce my cost, how I can minimize waste, how I can be effective with minimum number of people so that the overhead costs are less. Can I look for collaborative opportunities so that I can use the same infrastructure and divide my cost with possibly another with another industry segment. For example, the shoe and socks manufacturing company, they can have the same marketing effort and hence reduce on the cost of the marketing activities by lean thinking. Continuous improvement. That means it is a philosophy that approaches the production process as a work in process situation. So they say when we speak of continuous improvement, it's always about gradual change. This means that even if things are going really good, there are still places that can be improved. There's always the next level. So finding out and going to the next level, even if it is step by step. So work in progress. The concurrent engineering. Now concurrent engineering, or CE more popularly called, is the parallel performance of market research design, development and production, and planning. So it's about getting together of the design engineering team, the planning team, and the market info team, wherein it's a combination of efforts and disciplines brought together within a multifunctional unit. So when we say of innovation, it's not just about one team, it's about collaborative units coming together and forming a collaborative approach so that all engineering processes could be fit in to form a power pack system which is different, which adds value to the customer, which reduces cost, which reduces time. It could be any of those. Just in time. Now, just in time approach has been one of the mainstay when it comes to all production engineering tools. So today, just in time is a process for achieving excellence in a manufacturing company based on continuous elimination of waste. So elimination of waste is also how can I still reduce down my waste being used. Waste is considered those things which do not add value to the product. It accomplishes this by moving material to a necessary place at a necessary time. Each operation is closely synchronized with subsequent ones to make that possible. So how I can reduce my waste, how I can increase the volume of scales as well becomes important. So anything in economic theory, waste means anything that you can't doesn't add value. So through value analysis, we get to know that can I use my waste or a component of waste? How can I reduce my inventory? So that because inventory is a cost, to maintain inventory is a cost. So how can I reduce or optimize my inventory in such a way that not many goods are lying at the storage on one side, and other side I don't lose out on a market opportunity if a small fluctuation of demand is there as well. So on one side, I don't want to miss out on market opportunity because goods are not there because my inventories are so less that I don't have product to sell. Or I have so much of product left at the godown that it is now giving an additional expense to my pocket and hence reducing my profit. So how I can be just in time by reducing waste? Lateral thinking. Now, De Bono was the first one to introduce this concept of thinking, lateral thinking. So the more psychological in nature, there are two types of thinking. One called the horizontal thinking and the other is lateral thinking. Now horizontal thinking is the continuous improvement thinking, the improvement in candles or improvement in bulbs, step by step fashion is the horizontal thinking. Lateral thinking is thinking out of the box, radical thinking. We are completely thinking from a different perspective altogether. De Bono was the first one to introduce this concept of lateral thinking, and he introduced this by first differentiating between critical thinking. Now critical thinking is primarily concerned with judging the truth value of statements and seeking errors. Lateral thinking is completely thinking out of the box with different perspective altogether. Now critical thinking is like a postmortem, while lateral thinking is like a diagnosis. That's a good metamorphical way to put across. And diagnosis can be done by a couple of things. So random entry, choose an object at random or a noun form, a dictionary, and associate that with an area you are thinking about. So when we want to have a different dimension about it, we look into from different angles. It could be provocation, declare the usual perception out of bounds or provide some provocative alternative to be a usual situation under consideration. Prefix the provocation. For example, what we are doing here in terms of creative thinking is we are bringing in a completely new dimension to think about it as well. It could be through random thinking, provocation, it could be a challenge as well. Now, De Bono, who propounded this theory of lateral thinking, metamorphically went into the six hat theory, and each of the hat is an analogy that is put across a different mindset. For example, white is the blank sheet where information, report, facts and figures. They are more objective in nature. Red hat resembles institution, opinion, emotions, feeling. Yellow hat is looking at the positive side, the positive praise, why it will work. Black hat, they are the devil's advocate or judge's robe, criticism, judgment, negative aspect, modus tollens, why it will not work. The green hat shows for creativity, alternatives, new approaches, everything that goes well, not thought about it. Blue hat, the big picture, or conductor hat, meta hat, thinking about thinking, overall process is the blue hat. So what happens when people do brainstorming or people looking out for new alternative is they bring in that hat metamorphically and thinking, okay, feeling wise, how is this going to make a difference? From a white hat perspective, I will look into what's the data available logically. From a yellow hat, I will look into why it will work. Black hat, I will say why it will not work. Tell me the criticism, devil's advocate. We'll also look into from the green hat. That means that we'll look into from what else is there. And when we speak of blue hat, it's about how this dimension is going to fit in from different angle. Now, what we are trying to say from de Bono's lateral thinking theory is we are looking from different perspectives. The individual is the same, but the way he thinks differently from different perspectives is important. Now, what does it give you? Different perspectives gives you different options or different alternatives, and these alternatives and then put together, looked into what could be combined, looked into what could be eliminated, and looked into what is feasible, and then look forward for innovative approaches. So what this hat do is they give perspectives about how things work as well. Example, let's take an example to substantiate. Meeting. The meeting may start with everyone assuming the blue hat to discuss how the meeting will be conducted and to develop the goals and objectives. The discussion may then move to the red hat thinking in order to collect opinions and reaction to the problem. The phase may also be used to develop constraints for the actual solution and who all will be affected. Now understand, it's not necessarily, we always say being positive. Yes, it's about why it will work. It's also important you should know why it will not work, because it's not negative thinking. It's important to have both things together, so you will have better alternatives approach. They say because of positive thinking, aeroplane was innovated, and because of negative thinking, parachute was invented. Nice metaphor? Yes, because someone thought if an aeroplane crashes, how will people survive? And that's where parachute came into the picture. Now, are both important? Yes, aeroplanes are important to show the positive approach that we can still fly, and the negative approach, to so-called negative approach, the aeroplane can still crash or not work and we need parachute for it. So here is the two different hats about it. Next discussion may evolve to a yellow then green hat showing different perspectives. Next discussion may move between white hat and the black hat. So what primarily this hat gives a different perspective, same thing as well. Now, company innovative systems. What are the certain innovative systems that exist for the company? And those are the company's strategy, collection of innovation impulses, what all impulses are happening as well, setting of priorities, what we need to work on, what we can leave apart. Looking for innovation ideas and the discussion, either through brainstorming, reverse engineering. Feasibility study, Is it worthwhile? Is it workable? Can it be scaled in economy? Decision about project preparation has to be based on projects. The actual preparation itself, project implementation, and the monitoring of innovation performance as well. So not only looking at innovation, but also monitoring at every touch point, at every milestone becomes important. And if you look into the process map of how this is going to work is we have different structure about it. So wherein we have a market at one end. If you see the if you see the top half, it is the communication with the customer. We have on the top half the communication with the customer. The market is the place where ideas, development and production happens, and there's also development of production capabilities on right at the bottom. Then we have a strategy development, product development, design modification and product delivery. Now every level, if you see the mapping in terms of innovation, now all that we have spoken about right from the start of session could be mapped here. So we have an entire gamut of it. So innovation, if you see, can happen at a strategic development. So first at every level, first with the customer, if you top half of the slide, identifying needs of the customer better. Can it be innovative? For sure, yes. Having an idea, after identifying the needs, can I develop my product better? Now, getting into production, once I have developed a sample piece, can I produce now in small volumes? Can I look at process redesigning of engineering of goods or services so that my product or service become more customer friendly, becomes more value, gives more value added services, can reach the customer faster, can reduce cost. So any of those stuff. So which in turn gets connected to each of these in terms of strategic development, product development, design modification. Now if you see the primary end as well, the design, any kind of design changes. Now if you see, let's come back to the example of handsets. Now if you see in the late 90s, when mobiles came in, they were big handsets, really big. And at that point of time, connecting the call was important. The size of the handset didn't matter at that point of time. As the market evolved, the size in the late 90s, early 2000s, the size of the mobile phone gradually started decreasing. Then you get to have this mobile phone this shape as well, very small. Things further change. From 2005 to 10, 15, now they have again started going big. So if you have now with smartphones, you have a bigger smartphone. So they have the bigger size smartphones, it's better in terms of view, in terms of the camera resolution, it's more visible. So when it comes to product modification, product modification, friends, need to be understood. We have to keep customer need as a prima focus, because based on that only the product modification needs to be done. Delivery, so how a product delivery could be made better becomes important. So this is what we have spoken. So friends, what we have tried to discuss today is how innovation is important for an entrepreneur, at what levels and sources are available, what are the techniques and tools available for innovation for entrepreneurs. I hope this session was important to you and helpful. Do drop a mail if you have any queries, anything to share at ISBM. We would be more than glad to respond to your mails. This is Dinesh Gosai signing off from the side. Keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving. Thank you so much.